They took 4 words and turned them into a lie about Shedeur Sanders. But what Todd Monken actually said, it changes everything. And the media doesn't want you to hear it.
And so did y'all see what they did right there? They took a phrase, they took one little phrase, didn't grow up in a pro-style offense, and turned it into Shedeur wasn't ready. They skipped over the part where Monken literally said out of his mouth, it's not the fault of Shedeur Sanders, it's not the fault of Colorado.
Damn! They lied to you. Again. The Cleveland media took 4 words out of Todd Monken's mouth, twisted them, flipped them upside down, and ran a headline designed to make you believe that Shedeur Sanders wasn't ready, wasn't prepared, and that his father Deion failed him. But here's the thing. I got the receipts. I watched the full clip. I read every word. And what Monken actually said, it's the complete opposite of what they want you to believe. Stay right here, because today we're exposing every single lie, and we're giving Shedeur Sanders the respect he has earned and deserves. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel tells you the truth when everybody else is selling you a story.
Browns head coach Todd Monken is now going viral after saying some amazing things about Shedeur Sanders. We also have Browns reporter Tony Rizzo speaking out about the NFL draft, along with Shedeur Sanders putting in extra work. We're going to talk about all that in this video. The NFL draft is literally 1 week from today, and I'm very excited to see how the Cleveland Browns are going to go about this NFL draft. The way that they draft in this upcoming NFL draft will tell us a lot as far as how they view Shedeur Sanders. Moving forward, Browns reporter just spoke out about Shedeur Sanders. That is Tony Rizzo, along with their head coach, Todd Monken, praising Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to play that video clip and let you guys hear exactly what he had to say, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts after. All right, so before we get started, as you guys can see, ESPN Cleveland reports Shedeur and Q is putting in work. Absolutely loving it. Shedeur Sanders actually posted this on his Instagram stories.
I think you see playmaking ability. I think you see a player that is confident in his skill set. So when you see that playmaking ability and inner confidence, you say, okay, there's something to work with there. So that, I think that's the thing that excites you. But I do think what you see on tape are those aspects. A very young player that really didn't grow up in a pro-style offense. It's not his fault. Now it's going to be our fault if we can't develop them. Then it's our fault. It's our job.
I think you see playmaking ability. I think you see a player that is confident in his skill set. So when you see that playmaking ability and inner confidence, you say, okay, there's something to work with there. So that, I think that's the thing that excites you. I said it this morning that 15 or 20 years ago, they would have said that Shedeur Sanders was athletic. They would have said he could escape. Well, the game's changed.
Let's go straight to the source. Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, sat down with ESPN. And what did he say about Shedeur Sanders? He said he sees playmaking ability. He said he sees a player who is confident in his skill set. He said, and I quote directly, that Shedeur is something to work with. He said the game has changed so much that 15 or 20 years ago, Shedeur would have been called athletic, would have been called an escape artist. But the bar has shifted because of players like Lamar Jackson. And then, this is the part the media conveniently skipped. Monken said Shedeur is a very young player that really didn't grow up in a pro-style offense. He immediately followed that by saying, it's not his fault. That's okay. He literally used Brandon Weeden at Oklahoma State as his example. Another quarterback who didn't play a pro-style offense in college and still got drafted to the NFL. That is what the man said. That is the full context. That is the truth. Now here's where it gets disgusting. The Cleveland media took that one phrase, didn't grow up in a pro-style offense, and turned it into a full-blown narrative that Shedeur wasn't ready, that Shedeur was unprepared, that somehow Deion Sanders failed his son at Colorado. They skipped the part where Monken cleared Shedeur of all blame. They skipped the part where Monken said it's normal. where he used a Hall of Fame level example to normalize exactly what Shedeur went through. They skipped all of that and ran straight to the hottest, most divisive, most click-grabbing headline they could manufacture. And why? Because negativity about the Sanders family generates clicks. It's been the pattern since day one. If they can't tear down Shedeur, they go after Deion. If they can't get Deion, they find some twisted way to connect a positive comment back to both of them and make it sound like a criticism. This is not journalism. This is agenda-driven content designed to keep certain people from getting their flowers.
It's not a grade, it's not an insult. It's just a description of the scheme. You're talking about snaps under center, you're talking about huddle calls, you're talking about multi-read progressions. And you know who else didn't do a pro-style offense in college? Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes. Nobody questioned whether their coaches failed them. So when somebody in the Cleveland media circle implies that Deion didn't prepare him, we got to ask ourselves this question. Prepared him?
Let me educate you real quick, because the media is counting on you not knowing this. A pro-style offense is not an insult. It is not a grade. It is not a judgment of a player's talent or a coach's ability. It is simply a description of a scheme. Pro-style offense means snaps under center. It means huddle calls. It means reading multiple progressions before you throw. That's it. That's the whole definition. You know who else didn't run a pro-style offense in college? Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield. 3 quarterbacks who have combined for multiple Super Bowl appearances and one of the greatest careers in NFL history. Nobody looked at their college coaches and said, "You failed them." Nobody questioned whether their programs prepared them properly. But the moment it's Shedeur Sanders, suddenly it's a crisis. Suddenly it's evidence of failure. Suddenly Deion's entire coaching philosophy is on trial. The double standard is not subtle. It is loud and it is intentional. Now let's talk about the facts that nobody in the Cleveland media wants to discuss. What did Colorado actually do for Shedeur Sanders? Deion Sanders brought in NFL-connected coaches and NFL-style personnel specifically to bridge the gap between the college game and the professional level. The program was intentionally built around giving Shedeur every resource, every connection, and every tool he would need to transition to the next level. That is documented. That is on record. And the result? Shedeur Sanders came into the NFL as a 5th-round pick. 5th round. Went out there on limited snaps as a rookie and made the Pro Bowl. A 5th-round rookie. Pro Bowl. Do you understand how rare that is? Do you understand what that says about how prepared this young man actually was? You don't stumble into a Pro Bowl selection. You don't accidentally become one of the most talked about young quarterbacks in the entire league. That is the product of preparation, of coaching, of a player who was ready to compete and ready to grow the moment he got to the professional level. So when they tell you Shedeur wasn't prepared, ask them. Prepared compared to who? Because the scoreboard doesn't lie.
Too often have not been friends. All logic says it's Shedeur Sanders. All logic says Shedeur deserves the chance, needs the chance, is the most direct line to getting away from Deshaun Watson. So as I've heard these same things through these months and through my travels and talk to people, media, work in the league, there is a shrug your shoulders like they're paying them. Like that's how teams operate. And we'll see. A week from today, they will be on the field for a mini camp, and there will be an all too early impression argument. Somebody's got to be first, right? Somebody's got to judge on what's going to be seen there.
Here's what's actually exciting about this whole situation, and here's what the media doesn't want you to focus on. Todd Monken is already doing something that the previous coaching staff rarely did. He is taking responsibility. He is standing up and saying, I have a young quarterback with raw ability and confidence, and it is my job to develop him. That is a coach who believes in his quarterback. That is a coach who is publicly putting himself on the line for Shedeur Sanders. That is a coach who is already framing the development process in the most positive, empowering way possible. He didn't come out and say Shedeur has limitations. He came out and said Shedeur has something to work with. There is a massive difference between those two statements, and the media deliberately reported it like the first one. Monken is energized. The Browns organization appears to be genuinely excited about what Shedeur can become. Everything coming out of Cleveland right now, from teammates, from coaches, from people inside the building, points to Shedeur Sanders being the day one starter in 2026. I want to zoom out for 1 second, because this moment is about more than one interview clip. This is part of a pattern that has followed Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders since the moment they stepped foot on the Colorado campus. Every win was minimized. Every achievement was questioned. Every coach that spoke positively about Shedeur had their words reframed into something negative. It happened at Colorado. It happened during the draft process. And now it's happening in Cleveland. And yet, through all of it, Shedeur Sanders keeps winning. He keeps producing. He keeps proving people wrong. He changed his jersey number in Cleveland, which is not something you do unless you're the guy, unless the organization is treating you like the franchise cornerstone. That doesn't happen in a vacuum. That is a signal. The buzz around the Cleveland Browns right now is real. People are paying attention to this team in a way they haven't in years, and that energy is connected directly to Shedeur Sanders. The city is excited. The fan base is engaged. This young man is doing exactly what a franchise quarterback is supposed to do. He's making people believe again. Shedeur Sanders is gonna be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He earned that. He worked for that. And when this season kicks off and he's out there performing at the highest level, remember this moment. Remember who told the truth and who sold you a lie. Drop a comment below. Are you riding with Shedeur in 2026? Let me know. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss when we bring you the real story. Peace and chaos.